Hello everyone, I hope all are safe. Let us continue with the next topic in the fifth module of gas turbine technology course. So the next topic is certificate of design. So certificate of design is nothing but it's a written statement giving a brief description of that particular component or of that particular system. Let us consider you have bought a new product, maybe a mobile phone or a thermometer. Then along with that particular product there is one written statement coming giving a brief description of that particular component working range. So within that working range that will work very fine, whereas beyond that range it will not. So these kind of statements will be made. So these are nothing but certificate of design, nothing but the design limitation it describes. Now, if engine development has been substantially and successfully completed, in that case, the certificate of design is called as type approval certificate. Please remember, if the engine development has been substantially and successfully completed, then the certificate of design for that particular case is called as type approval certificate. Whereas, if the engine prototype flight clearance is done, only the engine prototype and only flight clearance is done, then for that particular case the certificate of design is called as a flight clearance note. Please remember, FCN stands for flight clearance note, that is only for a prototype and that too for a flight clearance test. Whereas if the successful completion of engine testing is done, then that is called as a type approval certificate. Now, when we say type approval certificate, again it is a brief description. It gives a brief description of operating limitations for that particular component on the basic design parameters. So, how exactly we get this? By doing this engine testing. There are different testing we have studied in this particular module. Now, those engine testing will give us the basic design parameters or basic performance parameters which affects the design, which in together help us to identify the operating limitations. So all these put together in a record is called as approval of certificate. Now, type approval certificate should be issued following satisfactory completion of the test and all other submission required by the quality or QCPs. Okay, so this is about approval of certificate. Now once the approval certificate is identified or once the engine testing is done, it is working fine and you have recorded or you have made a report out of the test specifying what is the limitations of operations. Now that is nothing but the approval of certificate. If that particular component is used in that particular range of operation, then it will work fine. So that's a certificate given. So that is nothing but approval of certificate. Once that is done, the next process will be the acceptance testing. Means this acceptance testing ensures that that particular component or that particular engine meets the acceptance criteria. Means if the engine is working at certain altitude with certain thrust requirement and if suddenly you change the requirement, then the engine should manage itself to give that particular thrust in that particular working range. If it is giving that particular thrust, then that is accepted. If it is not giving within that particular time based on its response, then it is not accepted. So this is the last check or this is the final check done to the engine before it is delivered to a customer, that is acceptance test. Suddenly if you change the requirement, whether the engine is capable of modifying itself to meet that particular requirement, whether it is possible or not. So these kind of a test are nothing but acceptance tests, which is done at the last moment before it is delivered to a customer, and it is done by the engine manufacturer or the component manufacturer. So this is about acceptance test. So in this video we try to understand what is the meaning of certificate of design, and based on the different conditions of testing that particular engine for full-fledged or only for that prototype, we have type approval certificate and flight clearance note. Type approval certificate is nothing but a brief description which will help us to understand that particular product within its operating limitations based on this basic design parameters. Now this will help us And after that, we understood the acceptance testing, which will ensure to meet that required or the acceptance criteria. So that is acceptance testing. So I hope this is clear. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Stay safe. Thank you.